Aloha, great job today. What we're focusing on are two things. It's twofold. With the bow, make sure that our hand, we're loose, super loose, meaning when we have our extension of the bow, we're gonna have a finger up on the top of the leather, two are going to be on the metal, and one is going to be on the back end. When we do this, the idea is we wanna have a loose hand and we wanna have it extend. So our hand, quite literally, is going to be doing something like this and down. We don't want to make it too tight, but we don't want to make it too loose or else we're going to drop the bow. So when we're pulling straight through, the mechanism being when the cello is right in front of us, we pull through in a straight line. Remember, on the cello bow, there are two lines which mark where our full extent range should be. When we're doing that, we're looking for something called the good tone, meaning you're going to go through playing one note over and over and over again, and you're going to try and get a consistent note. You're gonna go all the way back and do a down bow rather than an up bow. You're gonna do all the way through. Pick one note, try and get it to sound out really good on each string. When you do the open strings and you find your good note, then you move to what we did today, the first scale position. So our first position means it's our resting position. Our hand's gonna be in a Lego or a C. It's gonna fit on the fret, on the fingerboard. And you're gonna put your fingers directly on the fingerboard, curl them around as if you're hanging off of a cliff. And then the poignancy of those notes is going to be depending on where your finger lies. Don't so much wanna play flat notes where we're playing against the note, we wanna play pointy notes. The one thing we wanna notice is we don't wanna pull the string to the side or push the string up whilst doing it. We wanna keep all those directly in line. When we're doing the first position, we are exhibiting that we can play an open note, in the case of the lowest note, C, open. When we skip the C sharp or the minor second, our fingering would go first finger onto the D. Then we have a D sharp, which would be in between the two pieces of tape. Our third finger would play the E, and then our pinky would play the F note. The F note's super important because the note that's right above it on the string, G, 5 up, is going to be its perfect fourth, the C. We're going to talk about fretboard, or not fretboard, but fingerboard recognition, and we're going to talk about how to get to those notes. But for this week, what I want you to do is simply to play those individual notes by playing the open, putting your finger on the first piece of tape, which is your first finger on first position, play your second finger, play your third finger on tape, which is going to be in the first position, and then the pinky on the F. Do this in succession over and over and over again, and try to make sure that you're lying directly on the note, pressing into it, and you're not pulling it to the side. Da, 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 da. When you get up to that note, do that maybe 5, 6, 8, 10, 15 times. Move on to the next string, the G string. Then you move to the next string, the D string, and then the next string, the A string. By doing this with the pizzicato, you're basically going to be pulling the note from the top and resting your finger. So if you pull a note on the G string right here, you're going to pull back and rest your finger on the C string. Boom, boom. That's how we do that. Make sure your thumb is right here resting upon the fingerboard. It makes it easier so you're not just hovering. There are a couple schools of thought on how to do that, but most professionals put the thumb on the fingerboard whilst doing this. Pulling away from the note also helps. When you pull away from the note, make sure that you're pulling it nice and brisk and that you're hitting the notes directly on top. For this week, work on first fingering position. Next week, we're going to talk about our first fingering position, how to see second position, and then how to go from your open string all the way to your perfect eighth to hear that. Between the first position and your second position, we will be moving into the third position with that octave. It was wonderful seeing you today. Keep working at that, and I'll see you there. Bye.